More than 2,800 Russian soldiers were reportedly taken out of combat in just 1 week by Ukrainian drone strikes. That number points to a frightening reality on the battlefield in Ukraine. Danger no longer begins when tanks open fire or artillery starts firing. It can begin much earlier, the moment a small camera in the sky detects the first movement. A Russian armored vehicle may travel nearly 5,000 kilometers from the Zabaikal region to the front. An infantry group may rush through a tree line on motorcycles or ATVs. A supply truck may wait until nightfall before moving. But if a UAV has already spotted the target, if an FPV drone has already been sent, and if a thermal signature has already appeared on the screen, all those advantages can disappear within seconds. This is the kind of battlefield where speed, darkness, and armor no longer guarantee safety the way they once did. FPV drones are hunting targets at low altitude. Fiber-optic drones are helping Ukraine push through electronic warfare. Thermal drones are making darkness lose its value as cover. So why are even rare armored vehicles, small infantry groups, communication antennas, supply vehicles, and mobile air defense teams becoming targets? And is Ukraine now revealing the true shape of modern warfare, where the side that sees first may survive longer? Let's take a closer look with military force. Near Pisky, Ukraine reportedly destroyed a Russian Kamaz 385 armored truck with a drone strike, and this single loss carried more meaning than the destruction of one vehicle. The Kamaz 385 is not an ordinary battlefield truck. It is a newer armored platform designed to move personnel, protect crews, and support operations near danger. That is why its reported destruction matters. It shows that even vehicles built for protection can become vulnerable once they enter a battlefield watched from above. This was described as the first publicly recorded combat loss of this type in Ukraine, which gives the incident wider military weight. Armies do not measure losses only by numbers. They also study what kind of equipment is being lost, where it appears, and how quickly it is destroyed. If a rare armored vehicle reaches the front and is then hit by a drone, the message is clear. Modern protection is being tested by a form of warfare that attacks from angles traditional armor was not built to control. The reported journey of roughly 5,000 kilometers from the Zabaikal region makes the case even sharper. This was not equipment already sitting close to Ukraine. It had to be moved from deep inside Russia to support pressure near the front. That distance points to the growing cost of sustaining the war. Moscow can still bring vehicles forward, but the need to pull equipment from far away suggests that the front is demanding more than nearby stocks can easily provide. For commanders, the problem is not only replacement, it is also confidence. Each visible loss makes future movements more careful, slower, and harder to organize. The most important lesson is about timing. A vehicle can survive a long transfer, arrive near the battlefield, and still lose the fight in the short window after a UAV sees it. Once the target is detected, the situation changes quickly. A drone team does not need to destroy every vehicle in a column. It only needs to strike the right target at the right moment, especially if that target is rare, useful, or linked to movement and supply. The Kamaz 385 therefore becomes a symbol of the new danger facing Russian forces near the front. Armor still matters, but it no longer guarantees safety when the sky is watching. Distance still matters, but it does not protect a vehicle once it enters a drone-covered zone. In Ukraine, survival increasingly depends on whether a force can move without being noticed. But the Kamaz 385 was only the opening signal. The deeper story is how many Ukrainian drone units are turning different sectors of the front into a connected hunting network, where detection can quickly become destruction. Ukraine's drone war is no longer defined by single clips of one target being hit. It is becoming a distributed combat system across several front sectors. Units such as SBU Alpha, Signum, Phoenix, Magyar's Birds, the Ivan Franko Group, and the 93rd Mechanized Brigade show how different formations can apply the same battlefield logic in different sectors. One unit may hunt infantry in a trench, Another may watch tree lines. Another may strike vehicles, antennas, and staging areas. Together, they create pressure Russian forces struggle to predict. This matters because drone warfare works best when it is repeated, connected, and constant. A single FPV strike can destroy a target, but a network of drone teams can change behavior. Russian soldiers may move slower. Drivers may avoid certain roads. Assault groups may wait longer before crossing open ground. That delay can matter as much as the explosion itself. SBU Alpha shows how FPV drones can turn dugouts and hidden positions into vulnerable places. In earlier wars, a trench or a covered shelter could give infantry a stronger chance of survival against fire. In Ukraine, that protection is weaker when a drone can approach from above, enter a narrow angle, or strike a position that is not exposed to soldiers on the ground. The psychological effect also matters. If troops know that a dugout can be watched and attacked, rest becomes harder, movement becomes more cautious, and every exposed path begins to feel dangerous. Signum adds another layer in the Lyman direction. Its footage points to strikes against troops hiding in houses, forest areas, and behind fences. This is important because Russian infantry often depends on terrain to mask movement. Woods, ruined buildings, and small obstacles can break the line of sight from ground positions. But they are less reliable against drones searching from above. Once a target is spotted, a place that looked like cover can become a trap. Magyar's birds and other Ukrainian units around Pokrovsk show that FPV drones can influence an assault before Russian troops reach the main defensive line. This is a different kind of control. The drone is not only a weapon at the final moment of contact, it becomes a tool for shaping the approach. If riders on ATVs or small groups are hit before they form up, the attack loses speed before it becomes dangerous. That kind of pressure can break timing. Assaults depend on movement, coordination, and momentum. If one group is delayed, another may arrive too early or too late. If a vehicle is hit on the approach, the soldiers behind it may hesitate. If drones are already overhead, commanders may struggle to judge whether the attack still has enough strength to continue. The wider effect is a battlefield where Russian forces face detection not only at the trench line, but also near rear areas close to the front. Drone teams can observe roads, abandoned houses, forest belts, supply routes, and temporary gathering points. That expands the danger zone. It means soldiers are not only at risk when they attack. They may also be at risk while preparing, waiting, resupplying, or moving between positions. This is why Ukraine's drone network should be seen as more than a collection of strikes. It is a way to compress Russian options across many directions at once. The more sectors that face this pressure, the harder it becomes for Russia to move freely without losing equipment, time, or personnel. And that pressure is steadily reshaping how armies survive battlefields. As this network grows, the next question is not only how many FPV drones Ukraine can put into the air. The deeper question is which drones can keep flying when electronic warfare becomes stronger and harder to avoid. Fiber-optic FPV drones are becoming one of Ukraine's clearest answers to Russian electronic warfare. For much of the war, Russia has tried to protect troops and vehicles by filling the air with jamming signals. Those signals can break the radio link between a pilot and a normal FPV drone. When that happens, the drone may drift, lose video, miss the target, or crash before impact. Fiber-optic drones change this problem because the control link runs through a thin physical cable instead of relying only on radio communication. That cable gives the pilot a steadier connection in places where interference is heavy. The video feed can remain clearer, the controls can respond more reliably, and the drone can continue moving even when jamming systems are active. This does not make the drone perfect, but it changes the balance. A Russian jammer may still protect against many standard drones, yet it cannot break a wire-guided link in the same simple way. The value of this technology becomes clearer in forests, ruined villages, and narrow approach routes. Russian troops often use tree lines, damaged houses, fences, and small shelters because these places reduce visibility from the ground. They also make flying harder for drone pilots, especially when branches, walls, and rubble block the path. A normal FPV drone can lose signal if the pilot must fly low through these obstacles. A fiber optic connection helps reduce that weakness. It allows the drone to push through tighter spaces with less fear that jamming will cut the feed before impact. The pilot still needs skill, and the cable can create limits, but the key advantage is control. If the operator can keep seeing and steering, a hiding place can become a trap. For Ukraine, fiber optic FPV drones do not replace every traditional FPV system. Standard FPV drones still matter because they are cheaper, easier to produce, and useful across many missions. Fiber optic drones are better understood as a specialized layer inside a wider drone force. They are most valuable where jamming is strong, where the target is important, or where terrain makes normal control unreliable. This matters because modern war is a contest of adaptation. Russia expanded electronic warfare because FPV drones became too dangerous. Ukraine answered by changing the connection between pilot and drone. That cycle shows how quickly a battlefield solution can lose part of its value once the enemy finds a technical answer. A defense that worked yesterday may still help today, but it may no longer be enough. For Russian assault groups, the result is serious. Electronic warfare can still reduce the danger from many drones, but it is no longer a complete shield. If a unit moves through a forest belt, hides inside a damaged building, or gathers behind a fence, it may still be reached by a drone that keeps its signal through a cable. That weakens one of the protections Russian troops have relied on near the front. The bigger lesson is that protection now depends on more than jamming. Russian forces must also depend on camouflage, movement discipline, physical cover, and early warning. Even then, the margin for error is shrinking across frontline movement routes. When electronic warfare no longer provides reliable cover, movement itself becomes the next weakness. Small infantry teams, motorcycles, and ATVs may move quickly, but speed means less when a drone can keep control through interference and follow them toward exposed ground. Russian light assault tactics show how much the battlefield has changed under constant drone observation. As heavy armored vehicles face mines, artillery, and FPV strikes, Russian units have continued to use small infantry teams, motorcycles, and ATVs to reach Ukrainian positions. The logic is clear. A small group is harder to hit with traditional fire than a large armored column, and a motorcycle can cross a dangerous gap faster than a slow fighting vehicle. But speed and size do not solve the main problem. If a drone sees the movement, the assault can begin to fail before it reaches the trench. This approach also reveals pressure on Russian commanders. Armored assaults remain costly, especially when vehicles must move along known roads, forest edges, or open fields. By sending smaller groups forward, Russia can reduce the risk of losing expensive armor in every attempt. It can also test weak points and keep pressure on Ukrainian defenses without committing a full mechanized force. Yet this method pushes more danger onto individual soldiers. They may move faster, but they have much less protection once spotted. The footage described from Novopavlivka, Konstantinovka, and Pokrovsk shows the same pattern in different areas. Russian infantry rushes, motorcyclists, and ATV teams try to use movement as their main defense. They pass through tree lines, open strips, and broken terrain, hoping to close the distance before Ukrainian drones can react. But drones change the timing of that race. A reconnaissance UAV can detect the group first, and an FPV drone can then turn speed into exposure. The faster the riders move across visible ground, the clearer their path becomes from above. That is the core weakness of light mobility in a drone-covered zone. Motorcycles and ATVs can avoid some obstacles that slow heavier vehicles, but they offer almost no protection from a direct FPV strike or a nearby blast. They also cannot carry the same armor, medical support, or heavy firepower. If the first riders are hit, the group behind them can lose direction. If one vehicle stops, others may slow down, scatter, or search for cover. In that moment, the assault loses its rhythm. This does not mean Russia will stop using these tactics. In a long war of attrition, commanders often choose the method that can still produce movement, even if the losses are high. Light vehicles are easier to replace than tanks, and small teams can be sent forward again and again. But the growing presence of Ukrainian drones makes each attempt more uncertain. What once looked like a way to move around Ukrainian fire now risks becoming a path into a watched kill zone. The larger lesson is clear. On this front, mobility is no longer only about moving fast. It is about moving unseen. A motorcycle may outrun a soldier on foot, and an ATV may cross rough ground more easily than a truck, but neither can outrun detection if the sky is already watching. That changes the meaning of every road, every tree line, and every short dash toward Ukrainian positions under pressure from above at nearly every dangerous crossing. From here, Ukrainian drones are not only hunting assault groups moving forward, they are also striking. Ukrainian drones are now striking beyond the frontline soldier and into the support system that keeps Russian units moving. This is a major shift in battlefield pressure. Infantry losses can slow an assault, but damage to communications, logistics, and local air defense can weaken the entire structure behind that assault. When antennas, supply vehicles, fuel trucks, technical platforms, and mobile air defense teams are hit, the problem is no longer only the loss of one target. Russian units may lose the tools they need to coordinate, resupply, and react. The 93rd Mechanized Brigade offers a clear example of this wider targeting pattern. Its drone operators were described hitting 6 antennas, a motorcycle, an ATV, and a robotic ground platform. The antennas are especially important because communications are the nervous system of a fighting unit. Without stable links, commanders may struggle to pass orders, report threats, request support, or redirect troops under pressure. This kind of targeting also affects Russian logistics. A soldier at the front needs ammunition, food, water, batteries, medical supplies, and replacement equipment. Vehicles need fuel and repair teams. If supply trucks or fuel vehicles are destroyed, the pressure reaches beyond the exact impact point. A delayed fuel run can keep vehicles parked. A lost supply vehicle can reduce the number of rounds available at a position. A damaged technical truck can leave other equipment unused when repairs are needed most. In a war of attrition, these breaks can build into larger weakness. Ukraine is also trying to make Russian local air defense less reliable. Mobile air defense groups are supposed to protect troops, roads, and rear positions from drones. But if those teams are found and struck, they become targets instead of shields. That creates a dangerous cycle for Russia. The weaker local air defense becomes, the easier it is for Ukrainian UAVs to keep watching. The longer UAVs stay in the air, the more chances FPV teams have to find the next target. The strike on a robotic ground platform is another sign of how the battlefield is changing. Unmanned systems are not only Ukrainian tools. Russia is also trying to use ground robots and technical platforms to reduce human exposure. But these systems still need movement, control links, and support. If drones can find them, they can be removed from the fight before they change the balance on the ground. The result is a broader Ukrainian method. Drones are not just hunting soldiers at the front. They are attacking the machinery that allows Russian forces to keep fighting. Communications help units coordinate. Logistics help them endure. Air defense helps them survive under observation. Every damaged layer increases pressure on Russian battlefield coordination and survival. When these layers are damaged, Russian assaults become harder to organize and sustain. If daytime is already dangerous under UAVs and FPV drones, night is becoming the next contested space, as thermal drones make concealment far less reliable. Thermal drones are making night more dangerous for Russian forces in Ukraine. In older battlefield logic, darkness could help soldiers move, supply vehicles travel, and damaged units withdraw with less risk. That protection is now weaker. A thermal camera does not need clear daylight to find movement. It reads heat. A warm engine, a moving person, or a used vehicle can stand out against cold ground, trees, and ruined buildings. This changes the way nighttime operations work. The Phoenix unit was described using thermal drones against trucks, armored vehicles, civilian cars, a motorcyclist, and Russian soldiers. The importance is not only the number of targets, it is the type of targets. They show that Ukraine can watch both combat movement and support movement after dark. A truck carrying supplies, a vehicle trying to relocate, or a group moving between positions may all become visible once their heat signature appears on the screen. For Russian units, this reduces the value of waiting until night. Movement that once seemed safer can now become exposure. Drivers may slow down, units may delay travel, and commanders may struggle to choose when to move without attracting attention from above. The effect of this pressure can be seen around Konstantinovka, Pokrovsk, and Huliaipole, where drone activity has helped slow Russian movement. Ukrainian drones do not need to stop every assault at once. They only need to disrupt timing. If a group pauses on a road, if a vehicle turns back, or if soldiers scatter before reaching their position, the attack loses momentum. That delay matters because modern assaults depend on rhythm. Infantry, light vehicles, artillery support, and follow-up units must move in a narrow window. When drones interrupt that window, Ukraine gains time for artillery, mines, and more FPV strikes to work. A slowed assault can become damaged before it reaches the strongest Ukrainian defensive line. This is why 24-hour surveillance is becoming central to the war. Daytime observation finds movement in open terrain. Thermal drones extend that pressure into darkness. Even rear movement routes are becoming harder to hide from aerial observation. Together, they make the front feel smaller, tighter, and harder to cross safely. All these layers point to one larger conclusion. In Ukraine, survival is no longer only about speed or armor. It increasingly depends on whether a force can move without being seen. The reported destruction of the Kamaz 4-385 near Pisky points to a wider reality in Ukraine. Modern vehicles, long-distance transfers, and armored protection still matter, but they are no longer enough when drone teams can detect movement from above. Ukraine is building a layered drone system where reconnaissance UAVs find targets, FPV drones strike them, fiber-optic drones resist jamming, and thermal drones extend pressure into the night. Russia still has manpower, artillery, and offensive capacity, but every movement now faces a tighter surveillance environment. Infantry teams, motorcycles, ATVs, supply vehicles, and armored platforms all must cross spaces where detection can quickly become attack. The next phase of this war will likely bring more FPV drones, stronger anti-jamming systems, and wider night observation. The side that can find, track, and strike faster will hold the advantage in the battles of attrition ahead. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like, subscribe to Military Force, and follow the channel for more clear reporting on modern warfare, military technology, and the geopolitical changes shaping today's world. This channel exists to help viewers understand how wars evolve, how new weapons change the battlefield, and why these conflicts affect global security far beyond the front lines. Behind every drone strike and battlefield loss is also a reminder of the human cost of war and the importance of preserving peace whenever possible.